The Galactic Energy Summit was in its 57th year, and progress was slow. Representatives from over 100 species gathered in the grand crystalline chamber of the Orvanian Spire to debate solutions to the galaxy's rapidly dwindling energy reserves. The discussions were as luminous and intricate as the chamber itself, endless arguments refracted like light through the massive crystal dome. Dyson spheres remain the optimal solution, declared High Architect Meraxes of the Quarthian Collective, his silver-scaled form gleaming under the chamber's glow. But the logistical challenges are insurmountable. We must consider the engineering, the resources, Your insurmountable challenges have stalled progress for millennia, barked a squat, furry delegate from the Urza clans. Your designs are perfectionist nonsense. We need simpler solutions. The room erupted into chaos as species of all shapes and sizes raised their voices, mandibles clattering, tails lashing, and vocal folds vibrating. It was a symphony of galactic gridlock, and in the midst of it sat a single human representative. Dr. Ethan Valen, humanity's chosen delegate, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Unlike the others, he wasn't draped in ceremonial robes or adorned with glowing bioluminescent patterns. He wore a simple grey jumpsuit, the patch on his chest reading, United Nations Engineering Corps. His sandy brown hair was slightly messy, and he looked more like a harried technician than a galactic delegate. When the cacophony reached its peak, Ethan cleared his throat. The sound barely registered at first, but then he repeated it, louder this time. The chamber's amplification systems kicked in, and the sound echoed like a sonic boom. The room fell silent. Hundreds of eyes, lenses, and sensory appendages turned toward the lone human. "If I may," Ethan began, his tone calm yet laced with subtle amusement. "I think we're overcomplicating things." "You think we're overcomplicating things?" High Architect Meraxes repeated, his voice dripping with incredulity. "Human, do you even comprehend the scale of constructing a Dyson sphere? The precision required? The sheer mass of resources?" "Of course," Ethan replied, unfazed. "But that's your problem. You're all stuck on building one massive structure, a monolithic Dyson sphere. What I'm suggesting is, why not build smaller structures? Lots of them." A ripple of murmurs swept through the chamber. "You mean a Dyson swarm," said an elegant avian delegate with iridescent feathers. "That has been proposed before, but the challenges remain significant." "Sure, but not impossible," Ethan countered. "The problem isn't the idea, it's your approach. You're all so focused on theoretical perfection that you've forgotten how to build things. Humanity, we're pretty good at just making stuff." A sharp laugh erupted from one corner of the chamber. "Typical human arrogance," sneered a reptilian delegate, his golden eyes gleaming. "Your kind has barely scratched the surface of interstellar engineering, yet you presume to lecture us." Ethan didn't flinch. "Maybe we haven't been around as long as some of you, but we get things done. Quickly." "And how," Meraxes interjected, "do you propose to fund, organize, and construct a Dyson swarm when we've failed to do so for millennia?" Ethan leaned forward, his smirk widening. "You let us handle it. Give humanity 1 year, and we'll solve your energy crisis." The room erupted into chaos once more. Delegates jeered, laughed, or clicked their mandibles in disbelief. Amid the noise, Ethan remained composed, his hands clasped on the polished table. Later, in the quieter halls of the summit, Ethan walked alone, his boots echoing softly against the crystalline floor. He wasn't surprised by the reaction to his proposal. It was exactly what he'd expected. The galactic powers viewed humanity as a curiosity, a younger species still fumbling its way through the cosmos. He stopped by a window overlooking the stars. The galaxy was in crisis, and they all knew it. Energy shortages were choking civilizations, stalling trade routes, and sparking territorial conflicts. Yet the summit had accomplished nothing for decades. A soft, melodic voice interrupted his thoughts. "You're either very brave or very foolish." Ethan turned to see an elegant avian delegate, the same one who had mentioned Dyson swarms earlier. Her iridescent feathers shimmered as she regarded him with piercing golden eyes. Probably a bit of both, Ethan admitted. But someone had to say it. The avian tilted her head. You truly believe your people can build a Dyson swarm in a year? Ethan smiled. We don't just believe it, we know it. On Earth, the news of Ethan's proposal spread like wildfire. The United Nations Engineering Corps issued a public statement declaring the project humanity's grand endeavor, and the world mobilized like never before. In a massive command center beneath the Rockies, Ethan stood before a sprawling digital map of the Sol system, surrounded by engineers, scientists, and logistics experts. All right, people, Ethan said, addressing the room. The galaxy thinks we're crazy. Let's prove them wrong. He pointed to the sun on the map. We've got 1 year to build the biggest damn Dyson swarm this galaxy has ever seen. Let's get to work. The room erupted in cheers, and the countdown began. The announcement of Project Sol Swarm ignited humanity's collective spirit in a way that hadn't been seen in generations. News networks buzzed with updates, social media platforms lit up with debates, and schools across Earth suspended regular classes to teach students about Dyson swarms and their potential impact. Every major industry, from mining to manufacturing, pivoted to support the initiative. Thousands of companies retooled their factories to produce modular solar collectors, automated construction drones, and orbital assembly stations. Lunar bases and asteroid mining colonies ramped up operations to extract the raw materials needed for the ambitious project. At the heart of it all was the United Nations Engineering Corps' sprawling command center beneath the Rockies. Ethan Valen, now dubbed the architect of Sol Swarm by the media, oversaw the chaos with a mixture of pride and determination. Are we really doing this? A young engineer asked as they stood before a massive holographic display showing the projected deployment of the swarm. Ethan smirked. We don't have a choice. The galaxy's watching, and failure isn't an option. The asteroid belt became the linchpin of the operation. Humanity's mining corporations worked in tandem with robotic fleets to extract iron, nickel, and silicon in record time. Massive haulers ferried the materials to orbital foundries, where they were refined and processed into components for the swarm. One of the largest operations centered around a colossal asteroid named Xanthos 9, a behemoth rich in rare metals. Teams of engineers, geologists, and drone operators swarmed over its surface, working around the clock. Xanthos 9 alone can provide enough material for 200 collectors, Ethan explained during a live broadcast from the command center. And we've got 20 more targets lined up after this. Viewers around the world watched in awe as construction drones carved massive chunks of ore from the asteroid, their precision guided by AI algorithms. The scale of the operation was staggering, and it was only the beginning. As materials flowed from the asteroid belt to Earth's orbit, orbital construction stations sprang to life. These massive facilities, staffed by a mix of humans and automated systems, became assembly lines for the swarm's solar collectors. Each collector was a marvel of modular engineering, lightweight, highly efficient, and designed to be deployed en masse. They were built to be self-replicating, capable of producing new collectors using materials harvested from nearby celestial bodies. Standing in one of the orbital stations, Ethan watched as the first completed collector was loaded onto a deployment drone. The collector gleamed in the sunlight, its hexagonal panels reflecting the stars. We're making history here, Ethan said, his voice filled with pride. This isn't just a solution for Earth. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not everyone in the galaxy was thrilled by humanity's sudden ambition. On the Concorde's interstellar networks, debates raged over whether the humans could be trusted with such a monumental task. Some viewed them as reckless upstarts. Others feared their success would shift the balance of power. Among the skeptics was High Architect Meraxes, who had made it his mission to discredit humanity's efforts. During a broadcast to the Concord Assembly, he sneered, "Humans are driven by hubris. Their swarm, if it ever materializes, will collapse under the weight of their inexperience." Back on Earth, Ethan dismissed the criticism. "Let them talk," he said. "We've got work to do." But the criticism wasn't just talk. Reports of sabotage began to filter in, unauthorized AI infiltrations, mysterious malfunctions in mining operations, and even attempts to intercept resource shipments. It was clear that not everyone wanted humanity to succeed. Despite the setbacks, humanity pressed on. The first wave of solar collectors was launched into orbit around the Sun, their hexagonal panels aligning with military precision. Each collector connected seamlessly to its neighbors, forming the beginnings of a Dyson swarm. In the command center, cheers erupted as the team watched the live feed from the swarm's deployment drones. On the main display, energy output metrics began to spike. "We're online," announced one of the technicians. "The first segment is fully operational." Ethan nodded, his expression one of quiet triumph. "This is just the start. Let's keep it going." As humanity's progress accelerated, the galactic community couldn't ignore it any longer. Footage of the growing Dyson swarm spread across the Concorde's networks, sparking a mix of awe and disbelief. "They're actually doing it," murmured one Concorde delegate during a private assembly meeting. "In months, they've accomplished what we couldn't agree on for centuries." High Architect Meraxes, however, refused to be impressed. "This is a facade," he declared, "a reckless display that will end in disaster." But others weren't so sure. The avian delegate who had spoken with Ethan at the summit, intrigued by humanity's methods, proposed a visit to Earth to see the project firsthand. Ethan welcomed the delegates with open arms. As they toured the orbital construction stations and watched the swarm's deployment, even the most skeptical among them couldn't hide their astonishment. "You humans," said one delegate, shaking their head in disbelief. "You really don't understand the meaning of impossible, do you?" Ethan grinned. "We try not to." The first sign of trouble came during the deployment of the third swarm segment. One of the self-replicating collectors malfunctioned mid-launch, veering off course and colliding with a neighboring unit. The resulting chain reaction destroyed dozens of collectors and sent debris spiraling toward Earth's orbit. In the command center, alarms blared as technicians scrambled to contain the damage. Ethan Valen stared at the cascading reports on the holographic display, his jaw tightening. What the hell happened? "Preliminary analysis indicates a software anomaly," replied a technician. "But this pattern doesn't look random. It might have been intentional." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Get me a full diagnostic. Now." Hours later, the investigation confirmed their worst fears. The anomaly had been introduced by an external source. It was sabotage, likely orchestrated by parties within the Concorde who viewed humanity's project as a threat. The sabotage fueled tensions between humanity and the Concorde. High Architect Meraxes, a vocal critic of the project, seized the opportunity to denounce it publicly. "Humanity's recklessness has already endangered their own world," Meraxes declared during a galactic broadcast. "If they continue, their Dyson swarm will become a graveyard of shattered ambitions." Ethan watched the broadcast in his office, his expression dark. The words stung not because they were untrue. There had been dangers from the start, but because Meraxes was using the sabotage as proof of humanity's failure. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the glowing blueprint of the Dyson swarm on his desk. "If they want to play dirty, we'll show them how humans handle pressure." Ethan called an emergency meeting with his team and key allies. Trenix, the insectoid engineer who had become humanity's unexpected advocate within the Concorde, attended via hologram. "We can't afford more sabotage," Ethan said, addressing the room. "Every delay costs us time and resources. If we're going to finish this, we need to find out who's behind it and stop them." Trenix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "The Concorde Council will deny any official involvement, but Meraxes has many allies. They would rather see your project fail than admit humans might succeed where they have not." "Then we take precautions," Ethan said. "Double our network security, deploy more drones for monitoring, and reroute critical materials through less obvious channels." "And if they strike again?" asked one of the engineers. Ethan's smirk returned. "Then we outbuild their sabotage, faster than they can tear it down." Humanity doubled down on the project, mobilizing every available resource to accelerate production. Orbital construction stations operated around the clock, and mining operations expanded to the Kuiper Belt to access untapped resources. The most significant breakthrough came when a group of human physicists unveiled a prototype for autonomous repair drones. These nimble machines could identify and fix damaged collectors, ensuring the swarm remained operational even under attack. During a live broadcast to the galaxy, Ethan showcased the repair drones in action. As Concord delegates watched, the drones swarmed over a damaged segment of the Dyson swarm, seamlessly replacing broken panels and realigning the structure. "This is what humans do," Ethan said to the camera. "When problems arise, we solve them. When obstacles are thrown in our way, we adapt. And when people tell us something's impossible, we prove them wrong." Despite the sabotage, the Dyson swarm expanded at an unprecedented rate. By the 8th month, it had reached 40% completion, its hexagonal collectors forming a shimmering lattice around the sun. The swarm's energy output surpassed all projections, providing enough power to stabilize Earth's grid and support struggling colonies across the solar system. The success silenced many of humanity's critics within the Concord. Even some of Meraxes's allies began to question his stance, noting that the humans had achieved more in months than the galactic community had in centuries. "They've turned chaos into progress," murmured one delegate during a private meeting. "Perhaps we underestimated them." Meraxes, however, remained defiant. "This is a fleeting success. Their swarm will collapse under its own weight, and when it does, the galaxy will see them for the reckless fools they are." One quiet evening, as Ethan reviewed deployment schedules in his office, an incoming transmission interrupted him. The screen flickered to life, revealing the avian delegate who had toured Earth's orbital facilities months earlier. "Ethan Valen," she said, her melodic voice calm but urgent. "We need to talk." Ethan leaned forward, sensing the gravity of her tone. "What's on your mind?" "I've uncovered something troubling," she replied. "Meraxes isn't just undermining your project. He's planning a direct attack on the swarm." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "What kind of attack?" "The details are unclear, but he's mobilizing ships near the system's edge," she said. "I suggest you prepare for the worst." Ethan's expression hardened. "Thanks for the heads up. If Meraxes wants to start a fight, he's in for a surprise." The revelation forced humanity to shift focus. While construction of the swarm continued, resources were allocated to bolster Earth's defenses. Orbital stations were retrofitted with advanced shielding, and repair drones were modified for combat, capable of repelling small-scale attacks. In the command center, Ethan addressed his team. "We're not just building a swarm anymore. We're defending our right to exist. The Concord might not believe in us, but we're about to give them a lesson they'll never forget." As the swarm continued to grow, so did the tension between humanity and the Concord. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. In the depths of the Sol system, at the very edge of Pluto's orbit, an unauthorized fleet emerged from subspace. Their sleek, angular ships gleamed in the distant sunlight, their dark hulls bristling with weaponry. It was unmistakably Concord technology, and while the fleet bore no official insignia, their purpose was clear: sabotage. Ethan Valen stood in the command center beneath the Rockies, his hands clasped behind his back, as he watched the live feed from Earth's outer monitoring stations. The holographic display projected the fleet's formation, their trajectory aimed squarely at the Dyson swarm. "Looks like Meraxes finally decided to stop hiding behind his words," Ethan said, his voice calm but laced with steely resolve. "What's the plan?" asked a young technician, his voice trembling slightly. Ethan's smirk was small but confident. "We let him come to us." Unbeknownst to the Concord, the Dyson swarm was far from defenseless. Under Ethan's direction, several key components of the swarm had been outfitted with advanced countermeasures. These included repair drones, retrofitted with EMP projectors, collector panels equipped with reflective shielding to deflect energy weapons, and automated targeting systems capable of disabling hostile ships with precision strikes. As the hostile fleet moved closer, the swarm's defensive systems activated. Energy surges pulsed through the collectors, lighting up the swarm like a celestial web. The sight was both beautiful and ominous, a clear message to the approaching fleet. Humanity was ready. The Concorde fleet launched their first attack, firing concentrated energy blasts toward the swarm. The attack struck the outer layers of the collectors, but instead of causing significant damage, the blasts were absorbed and redirected by the reflective shielding. The excess energy was funneled back into the swarm's grid, boosting its output. Ethan watched the scene unfold on the holographic display, a satisfied grin spreading across his face. "Thanks for the free power, Maraxes." The command room erupted in cheers as the swarm's defensive drones deployed, swarming the attackers like a cloud of angry hornets. Each drone targeted key systems on the hostile ships, disabling engines and weaponry with surgical precision. The battle didn't stay confined to Sol system. Concorde monitoring stations across the galaxy picked up the engagement, broadcasting live feeds to every major star system. Delegates in the Concorde assembly watched in stunned silence as humanity's swarm not only survived the assault, but actively fought back. "This is impossible," muttered one delegate, their multiple eyes wide with disbelief. "How can a species so young accomplish this?" "They've turned their Dyson swarm into a fortress," said another, shaking their head. "I underestimated them." Even High Architect Maraxes, watching the battle unfold from his private chambers, felt a flicker of unease. "This changes nothing," he muttered, though his confidence wavered. The hostile fleet's second wave proved more aggressive, with ships attempting to breach the swarm's perimeter and disable its core systems. But the swarm's modular design proved its strength. Even as individual collectors were damaged, the rest of the network adapted, rerouting energy and maintaining stability. Ethan monitored the battle with razor-sharp focus. "Activate countermeasures on sectors 3 and 7, he ordered. "Let's box them in." As the Concorde ships pressed forward, the swarm's drones executed a coordinated maneuver, surrounding the attackers and cutting off their escape routes. One by one, the hostile ships were neutralized, their systems disabled, and their crews forced to retreat. When the last hostile ship jumped to subspace, limping back to Concorde territory, the command center erupted into cheers. Humanity had not only defended their Dyson swarm, but demonstrated their capability to adapt, innovate, and protect what they had built. Ethan turned to his team, his expression equal parts pride and determination. "This isn't just a win for us. It's a message to the galaxy. We're not here to play by their rules. We're here to change the game." In the days following the battle, the Concorde Assembly convened an emergency session to discuss the implications of humanity's victory. Some called for sanctions, while others argued for cooperation. The debate was fierce, but one thing was clear: humanity could no longer be ignored. Ethan addressed the assembly via hologram, his image projected into the grand crystalline chamber. "We didn't build the swarm to provoke war," he said. "We built it to solve a problem the galaxy has been debating for centuries. If you're willing to set aside your skepticism, we're ready to share the energy it produces. But if you come for us again, you'll find we're not so easy to break." The chamber was silent, the delegates stunned by his boldness. As the Dyson swarm approached 90% completion, its energy output began to stabilize entire sectors of the Concorde's struggling infrastructure. Even the most skeptical species couldn't deny its success. Humanity's achievement sparked a wave of innovation across the galaxy as other species sought to replicate their methods. Yet the swarm itself remained a testament to human ingenuity, a symbol of what could be accomplished when determination met opportunity. Ethan Valen stood in the observation deck of Earth's largest orbital station, watching the swarm glitter like a second sun. "They doubted us," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. "But now they'll never forget us." Behind him, the command center buzzed with activity as humanity prepared to reveal their next project. As the Dyson swarm reached completion, humanity's promise of unlimited energy became a reality. The swarm's modular collectors formed an intricate lattice around the sun, each hexagonal panel glowing with radiant energy. It was a sight visible from every corner of the solar system, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. The energy produced by the swarm not only stabilized Earth's power grid, but also provided surplus energy that could be exported to struggling colonies and Concorde systems. For the first time in centuries, the galactic energy crisis seemed solvable. Ethan Valen stood in the observation deck of the United Nations Orbital Command Station, watching the swarm shimmer like a second sun. Around him, technicians and diplomats bustled with activity, coordinating the distribution of energy to Concord member worlds. "We've done it," Ethan murmured, his voice tinged with pride and relief. "We've shown them what humanity can do." Despite the swarm's undeniable success, the Concord Assembly remained divided. Some delegates praised humanity's achievement, hailing it as a turning point for the galaxy. Others, led by High Architect Meraxes, continued to voice their skepticism. During a heated session of the Assembly, Meraxes addressed the delegates. "Humanity's swarm is a reckless experiment. It may stabilize our energy crisis for now, but at what cost? Their methods are brash, their technology untested. They risk destabilizing the galaxy." Ethan, present via hologram, responded with calm confidence. "The swarm works. The energy it produces is already saving lives. You can question our methods, but you can't deny the results. If you're willing to work with us, we're ready to share this technology." The debate raged on, but it was clear that humanity had earned a seat at the table. For the first time, the Concord viewed Earth not as a fledgling world, but as a vital contributor to the galaxy's future. The success of the Dyson swarm had far-reaching implications for galactic politics. Humanity's newfound influence disrupted the delicate balance of power within the Concord, forcing older, more established species to reconsider their positions. Trade agreements were renegotiated, scientific partnerships were forged, and humanity found itself at the center of a technological revolution. The modular design of the Dyson swarm inspired new approaches to infrastructure across the galaxy, from modular starship construction to scalable planetary energy grids. Even High Architect Meraxes begrudgingly began to adopt some of humanity's methods. Though he never publicly admitted it, the efficiency of the swarm had silenced many of his critiques. Ethan Valen became a household name across the galaxy, celebrated as the architect of the Dyson swarm. Schools on distant worlds began teaching about humanity's methods, and interstellar tourists flocked to Earth's orbit to see the swarm for themselves. But for Ethan, the greatest reward was the knowledge that humanity had proven its worth. Sitting in his office aboard the command station, he reflected on the journey that had brought them here. "It's funny," he said to Trenix, the insectoid engineer who had become one of humanity's staunchest allies. "We started this to solve an energy crisis. Now we're reshaping the galaxy." Trenix clicked his mandibles in agreement. "You humans have a way of exceeding expectations. It is both inspiring and deeply unsettling." Ethan chuckled. "That's humanity for you." With the Dyson swarm fully operational, humanity turned its attention to new challenges. Research stations across the solar system began exploring the potential of harnessing other cosmic phenomena, from black holes to nebulae. During a press conference, Ethan teased humanity's next grand endeavor. The Dyson swarm was just the beginning. If the galaxy needs energy, we'll find ways to deliver it, faster, smarter, and bigger than ever before. The announcement sparked excitement and a fair amount of trepidation among the Concord delegates. If humanity could build a Dyson swarm in a year, what else were they capable of? As the galaxy adapted to the energy revolution sparked by the Dyson swarm, one thing became clear. Humanity was no longer an afterthought. They had proven that even a species with limited experience could achieve the impossible through determination, creativity, and sheer stubbornness. In the observation deck of the orbital station, Ethan gazed at the shimmering swarm one last time before turning to leave. Behind him, the sun burned brighter than ever, its light reflected by thousands of collectors working in perfect harmony. "We didn't just build a swarm," Ethan said quietly. "We built a future."